Hey everybody, this is Cannaday, and today I'm taking a look at Deadpool for Unmatched. Let's get into it. Alright, let's take a look at Deadpool for Unmatched. So I painted and primed my guy here, but normally they're gray with a little bit of wash on them, but he has a pretty good pose on his thing there. And of course, like any other Unmatched character, it's going to have a health dial for you to track your stuff here. Deadpool comes with 10 health, which seems like not that much, but it is Deadpool, so he will have ways to heal back up. Let's take a look at a few of his cards here. Oh man, such a crazy character. So Deadpool, melee character, move 2, and you can see that the art on this is a little bit different than your normal cards there. Yeah, after you attack, Deadpool recovers 1 health, so that 10 doesn't seem too bad after all now that he's healing all the time. Also, if your opponent's real name is Logan, your attacks are +5. So I think anybody whose name is Logan is not going to want to go up against Deadpool. What were you expecting? It's got all sorts of crazy stuff here. A lot of this stuff has a bunch of inside jokes and stuff on all of the cards. This is kind of like a zany Unmatched set for Deadpool, which of course makes sense with breaking the fourth wall. We have Flint, which of course makes a lot of sense. This gives you all the stuff here normally that it would give you. 1 boost, and then also cancel the effects. You see this in basically every single one here, but this looks like it's from the Dracula set. And then Deadpool, call me. And then it's got, during combat, if your opponent's name is on this card, its value is +4. After combat, your opponent writes their name on this card if not already there. This is the kind of thing that's going to be interesting because it's like, would you really want someone to write their name on the card? Or maybe you do and just make it so that you have this zany Deadpool set. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff in this deck. Deadpool, 0 cost. Timeout, timeout, timeout. Immediately call timeout, looking through the deck, pick a card you could play, discard this card, and play that one instead. So something silly there where you get to look through the deck. And then Hellfire Club. They have an amazing buffet. After combat, recover 2 health, and then if you're at full health, take 2 damage. So interesting things there. Deadpool, another feint here, but this is a reaction here. Tip your figure over, make a fainting noise, recover 2 health, and then reset your figure. There's a bunch of stuff that's like silly and zany that they have in here. Emergency burrito there. Chimichanga break. During combat, if there is food on the table, the value of this card is 5 instead. So a bunch of outside of the normal game stuff. This reminds me of like the unhinged or unglued magic sets or more zany stuff like that. And there's another Deadpool card. Shuffle 5 cards from your discard pile into your deck. Recover 1 health. And it looks like Garbage Pail Kids. Silly, silly. Then we have another Deadpool card here, an attack. During combat, you may boost this card. Seems awesome. And it looks like it's a credit card there that says Charles Xavier on it. Maybe you can use some of the X-Men's money on that. Then we have another card here. After combat, deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. If you own the Deadpool Unmatched set. Obviously, so that means if you let somebody else borrow it, this is not going to be quite as good. But if you own it yourself, then it's going to be a little bit of extra damage. Then Holy Mackerel. This is another Deadpool card. Guess the name of your card, or guess the name of a card in your opponent's hand. Your opponent must discard all cards with that name. Otherwise, they say go fish, and you draw a card. And then, and for my next move, after combat, deal 2 damage to the opposing fighter, or move a fighter 3 spaces. Deadpool, after combat, draw a card. Another one here. Nope, mine. After combat, look at your opponent's hand and recover 1 health. This is a access card to the Danger Room that's normally Scott Summers, a.k.a. Cyclops. And Deadpool's saying, nope, my card, not Cyclops's. And then another Scott Summers facilities card here. You may play this card as a ranged attack, which is pretty funny because, you know, normally Deadpool's melee. This card would actually just be a ranged attack, which you're going to have to explain to your opponent if you're at range, being like, I have an attack card. It says I can play it as ranged. If they know the deck, they're going to know exactly what card it is. But then you can be like, okay, it's this card, does 3 attack. It's kind of funny. For multi-use card here, Super Feint. This card can't be canceled. Immediately cancel the effect of your opponent's card. After combat, draw a card. It's just zany that he's got it like all crossed out and made even better than it normally would be. And then Eat Me. Immediately say Eat Me to your opponent. During combat, say eat me to your opponent. After combat, if you lost the combat, say eat me to your opponent. It's just silly. Just silly. And then another one that looks like from the Invisible Man set here. I'm not wearing pants. During combat, if this card isn't sleeved, it gains a value of 5. If you're not wearing any pants, go put some on. Won a bet. After the game, if you won the game, your opponent buys you a drink. If you lost the game, you buy them a drink. So you add a bet to the game there. Then a Deadpool card here. Oh man, nostalgic, like old school, like collectible superhero cards. One of the things that's interesting here is that some of this stuff is a little bit harder to read sometimes. It's just like, okay, it's a 6 attack, and it looks like it doesn't have any actual special abilities or anything like that. Underrated superheroes, and then it's a 2 boost. So interesting to figure out what's going on here. After combat, if you won the combat, deal 3 damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter. So you can smash a bunch of different guys there. It's got Cable up there in the corner. After combat, move the opposing fighter 1 space, just 1. There you go. And then sweet, move to a space. You move to a space in a yellowish zone, then move to a different space in a yellowish zone. What? So you have to look at the board and argue with your opponent what's yellowish. Hopefully, it's easy to determine what's kind of yellow. So, and then passwords. You've been hacked. After combat, your opponent looks at your hand and chooses a card for you to discard, but is a 5 defense. So that's pretty good. Some of the cards are good for you. Some of them are bad for you. After combat, you may move to any space in your zone. There's a transit card. So there's Deadpool's little bus card, I guess, or tram card. After combat, your opponent discards a card. If you won the combat, they discard 2 cards instead. Look at all those little body parts from Deadpool there. Push to teleport. This is a 2 strength card that can be used for either attack or defense. Then after combat, you draw a card. But it does have a boost of 6, so it helps you be able to move all over the place. And then Gaze of Stone. We've got Medusa on here, so calling back to some of the other Unmatched sets. After combat, if you won the combat, deal 8 damage to the opposing fighter. So if you're able to figure out a way to get through their defenses, you're going to do a ton of damage to them. Property of Gambit, do not steal, Wade. It looks like it got stolen anyway. Exploding card. During combat, if you made an exploding noise when you revealed this card, its value is 4 instead of 1. So stuff there making you make silly noises. Chimichangas. Give me chimichangas after you draw a card and recover 1 health. So interesting stuff there. And then all sorts of stuff on this card. I always have the last word. After combat, if you attacked, deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. And that's all the cards you get in the Deadpool deck there. Lots of silly stuff going on. Let's go look at my thoughts. So Deadpool is a super interesting character with all the zany, wacky stuff that's in the deck. I kind of showed a lot of that off, and how there's a little bit of humor thrown in there as well with all the fourth wall breaking things, which kind of makes sense for Deadpool a little bit. All of the Marvel stuff came out for Unmatched here just a minute ago, and I've been playing through a bunch of that stuff, and I actually played Deadpool against some of the Marvel characters, against Z as well, and it was just funny just seeing all the cards kind of come out. This is kind of a wacky, interesting set. I don't know how easy this is going to be to get a hold of, but it's also kind of silly for the game as well. So if you're not into adding that silliness into your Unmatched game, you might want to pass on this. But if you want to have everything for the game, it would be kind of cool to have as well. I mean, it makes sense for Deadpool to be a little bit silly and wacky, and I had fun playing around with it. I do feel like maybe some of the stuff in here might not be as balanced the same way, especially if you're keeping to all of the zany silliness. I mean, if you ever go up against an opponent whose name is Logan, you're just going to wreck them the entire time. But yeah, it's really kind of funny and silly how a lot of the stuff works in this, and it calls out making noises and writing people's names on cards and stuff like that. If that sort of stuff makes you uncomfortable, you might want to steer clear. But for me, I love Deadpool. I love the silliness that it adds to the game, and I'll probably play it a little bit more tongue-in-cheek and just play it to have a good time and fun with it. I mean, I love Marvel in general in games, and the fact that Marvel is coming into Unmatched is a lot of fun, and we just did a Four Squares review of this as well, so make sure to check that out also. But yeah, this is going to get a seal of approval for me. If you enjoy Marvel, It's fun, it's silly, you have to know what you're getting into. That's why I really went into detail showing you all of the cards and how wacky they kind of are, so you kind of know what you're getting there with this character. He is pretty strong though, the fact that all of his attacks, each time he attacks, he's going to be healing over and over again, and there's just some crazy cards in there that can kind of surprise your opponent in some ways, which makes sense for Deadpool. He's a wacky character, and it's kind of fun to have all that stuff. So for me, seal of approval, check out Deadpool. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get to play Marvel Unmatched sometime together, because I enjoy the game. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one.